It kind of like reached up and bit me. You know, I didn't like sit down and have a hard thinking process. I mean, I was 12. I didn't have a hard thinking process,
Right.
you know. It was just kind of like, oh, I like doing this, and people seem to
Well,
like
this
it
is
when I
fun.
do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do it.
This is Up and Country, powered by vLiveCast. I'm your host, Sue Bonzell, bringing you rising country artists direct from Nashville. Now let's get this show started. He has written music with Devin Dawson and Jimmy Allen, and at 15 years old, got a publishing deal with Warner Chappell Music. That is amazing. It is Jackson Nance is in the studio. Jackson, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited that you were here. Now, I got to hear about this. 15 years old, you're coming to Nashville, you're writing songs, you get a publishing deal. Let's hear this story. This is incredible.
Well, so I moved to Nashville in 2008 from South Mississippi, a little town called Hattiesburg. And my parents were always musical. Like I used to, sing the Eagles with my mom in the car, stuff like that, I even got a tattoo about it.
Oh.
But so I moved here in 2008. I started going to school. Coming from South Mississippi, it's like baseball and football. You don't really know much about entertainment. But anyway, I started kind of figuring out that I had some musical talent, and I was playing at like B.B. King's and like Dan McGinnis, but I was too young to get in.
Of course.
So I had a guitar player come and sit out on the patio with me so I could play.
Funny.
And then when I was 12, I told my parents that I wanted to start doing online school so I could get on with my career.
Okay.
And they were really cool about it. They said, okay. And so I got a guitar. I started listening to the Beatles, and I started playing like 8 hours a day.
Really?
For like 3 years, yeah. I was writing, so I started writing and playing guitar when I was 12. And then when I was 13, I played at this place called Puckett's in Leaper's Fork. You should go if you haven't been.
Okay.
And repping them. And this guy saw me play named Aubrey Preston, and his family started Healthcare Centers of America, so very wealthy, very nice guy. And he had a personal favor owed to Scott Hendricks.
Okay.
Because he had helped him with some real estate stuff prior, or whatever it was. And when I was 13, I walked into Scott's office, and Scott looks at me and says, he's like, you're a great singer, but we've got a million great singers in Nashville. You need to be an artist. And so for the next 2 years, he kind of like mentored me, directed me, introduced me to people. And then when I was 15, we had a meeting with my parents, him, and my lawyer.
I love it how you're 15 and he's like, and my lawyer.
Oh, dude, it was so weird to me. Like when you talk about I was telling my friends about this, and they're like, "Oh, cool. What are you doing Friday?" You know what I mean? It's like that type of thing. But I had a meeting with Scott, and again, when I was 15, after like continuous like updates and stuff like that over the years, and he said, if you're gonna get a pub deal, you need to talk to Ben Vaughn naturally because he's in the same building, literally, and in the same company. It'd just be a better situation for everyone. And I'd probably like written 5 songs at the time. And so I sat down in Ben's office, and the whole staff of Warner sat on the couch. And I played a mixture of the 4 half-ass songs that I'd written, 4 or 5, and a whole bunch of Muscle Shoals songs, blues songs.
Nice.
Told them, basically, I had a little TED Talk about music history with them, and I think they thought it was cool because I was so young. But I got a call a week later saying they wanted to work together, and then like 6 months of going back and forth.
Of course.
So, yeah. It
But
was,
wow,
it was fun, though. It was cool.
I mean, that's really cool. And
really
so,
cool.
I mean, that young age and to know at 12 years old, okay, I want to switch up my whole schooling, do this whole thing. I mean, I just think that is incredible. You obviously have a gift.
I've been very blessed, for
Yes.
sure. Super blessed.
Now speaking of Muscle Shoals and Alabama, now did you got to do some kind of a song for Alabama?
Yeah, so
Not the band.
No, not the
state.
band. Not the band.
Yes.
So one of my friends, her name is Debbie Wilson, and she was, I don't know the terminology of all this, but she did something with like the state where for like the marketing and tourism. Mm-hmm. And so the guys in Muscle Shoals, they're like, a core group of musicians, or were back in the day, or they were kind of like the Wrecking Crew, or like or the Nashville guys, whatever. Artists would come down, like Aretha Franklin and Wilson Pickett, the Stones, different people would come down and record in this area with these guys and get absolute gold. You know what I'm saying? And so in Sweet Home Alabama, in Muscle Shoals, they've got the Swampers. That was their name.
Right.
They called them the Swampers. And I was sitting down with my buddy who was actually the owner of Puckett's at the time. Now that he sold it, made some good money. But I was sitting down with him and a friend of mine named Eddie Wilson, and we kind of got approached about that idea of, like the state needing, some more like music for tourism, things like that.
Okay.
And we wrote a song called It's a Swamp Thing.
Ah, okay, that's
Yeah,
cool. I like
so
that.
it mentions like, you heard about the Detroit, Motown, Memphis, Stack Sun, Delta rhythms on the Mississippi River. It mentions a lot of the studios
Wow.
and like the places where, music was really popping off.
That's cool. I mean, you're like getting gigs and all these things.
I know,
And
that's
now,
cool.
I mean, so that's the state of Alabama, but you also have a connection to Alabama,
Yeah,
the band.
So another weird thing, man. So, like I said, I have this like, I don't know if it's dumb luck. I definitely believe in God, so I think I'm blessed.
Nice.
But so I was at a studio when I was 10 years old in Nashville. I couldn't even tell you what it was. And when you're that young, like I got kind of thrown into the industry at such a young age, I didn't really process the people around me and the magnitude of what they did, who they were. And I was in the studio and I was like wandering down the hall or whatever, and I saw this guy sitting there playing guitar. And I just walked up to him and started talking. It was Randy Owen, the lead singer of Alabama. And, at this point, I didn't really know much about who he was. But my mom walks over and she's like, oh my God, because she waited in line at 14 years old for him to kiss her on the cheek. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I started talking to him. I asked him what he was playing. He was playing a little song he wrote, and he asked me, if I sang or anything. And I sang for him. And then he invited me to his Fandemonium in Fort Payne. So I ended up doing that like 2 years in a row.
That is,
or 3 years in a row.
I mean, you really do have the luck. Because
it's crazy.
Now, you also had an interaction with TobyMac. Was that in an ice cream parlor or something like that, did I hear?
Okay, so we're going deep. Okay. Okay. So let me tell you this. So I just got back from a Warner Christmas party. So I was all like, I was dressed real good. I was looking good, And so I've grown up in Franklin since we moved, and like hung out there every Friday night, Saturday night, whatever. And so I met up with my friend in downtown Franklin. And I'm wearing all this stuff. So at the time I didn't know much about Christian music other than like Kirk Franklin and stuff like that. But I was with my friend. We were walking like past Franklin Theater, headed towards Sweet CC's. And we saw this guy walking on the other side of the street. And he's like, oh my God, dude, that's TobyMac. And I was like, who's TobyMac? I didn't know who it was. If Toby sees this, he's probably gonna laugh. But so I didn't know who it was. And literally, this is just coincidence, okay? So he's like, he's a huge Christian singer, this and that. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And so we walked to Sweet CC's, and the door's like over here. I got my back to the door, and I'm sitting there. And I feel somebody grab my shoulder and say, what you looking so sharp for?
Oh.
Thank God my friend told me who it was 10 minutes prior, because I turned around and I said, TobyMac. I was like, what's up, man?
And now you're like an expert.
Yeah, I was like, I was definitely BSing, And, we ended up talking or whatever. And he asked me, why I was so dressed up. And I said, well, I actually just got back from a Warner Christmas party. And he was like, oh, like Warner Brothers? I was like, yeah. He's like, are you a singer or an artist? And I said, yeah. I was like, do you want to hear something?
Nice.
And so I pulled out my notes. I save all my audio recordings to my notes. And I pulled it out and played it for him, and he listened to it. And he was just like doing this, And he was like, I'm going to give you my number. He's like, I want you to come into the studio with me, and I think it was David Garcia.
Okay.
And he's awesome too. And, people say things all the time. People make promises in this. But like 2 weeks later, I was like, sitting downstairs playing Xbox or whatever. And I heard, and I felt my phone lighting up, and I looked at it, while I'm playing or whatever, because it's like I'm in the middle of it. And I was like, wait, Mom, TobyMac's calling me. And I answer, and he's like, hey, Jackson, do you want to come? I'd like you to come to the studio next week to sing backgrounds on my next single.
Okay.
And keep in mind, he asked me if I'd done that before. I don't think of it as being dishonest. I think of it more as you got to sell yourself.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, yeah, man, I crushed this. We'll do it. It's going to be a good time.
Nice.
And so I show up to the studio, and I get done. It takes about 35 minutes or so for the backgrounds or whatever. And I get done. He's like, that was really fast, great job. And I was like, man, thank you so much for having me. This is my first time doing this. And he was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, man, I really appreciate you though.
And he's like, oh, what?
Yeah. And from then on, we've maintained a relationship.
Nice.
Like he's, I've sent him records that I've made and stuff like that. And he's always super generous with his input. And then he had a show at the Bridgestone Arena a few years ago. And he sent me 2 tickets, like front row.
Nice.
So
I love that.
And it was cool because on the backgrounds of, it's the I see you in everything all day. It's that song. And so with a lot of the pop shows or the, hip hop centric sounds,
right.
they have tracks as well.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting there in Bridgestone Arena, hearing my voice being piped in the speakers. And I'm like, with my friend, I'm like, yes, so cool,
That is amazing. Yeah. I love the luck. I love the luck.
It's crazy.
But it's not just luck, obviously. You've got the chops to back it up.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah.
So you have a new song called "I Love You, Mom" that you released.
I did.
That was right around Mother's Day, and I know there's a really good story to this song that I think you guys will appreciate. Tell us the story about writing "I Love You, Mom."
Okay, I got you. So my mom's birthday is November 6th, and she loves the Eagles. Going to talk a lot about the Eagles because I love the Eagles too. But she loves the Eagles, and she went to Seattle. My dad got her tickets to the show in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
On November 6th. And birthdays and, holidays, things like that, Mother's Day, huge things at our house, Like we always get cards, always get gifts, always spend time together.
Right.
For whatever reason, I assumed that since she was out of town, I did not have to get her a birthday card or a gift. Which I was wrong. I was wrong.
Wow,
Okay?
what a lesson that one was.
And so we're all at my house a few days after she gets back. And me and my dad, we're like super honest with each other, like super brutally, we talk to each other just straight, shoot it straight. That's how he is. So I'm sitting where you are. My girlfriend's sitting where I am. Dad's sitting in a recliner like over here. And Mom's sitting on the couch. And we're all laughing and hanging out. And Dad texts me, so no one else knows. He's like, you should be ashamed of yourself for not getting your mom something.
Uh-oh.
And I was like trying to explain it on text, like I didn't know, like I didn't know what we were doing, if you all were getting stuff. And he was like, that was pretty crappy,
Aww.
And so we're all sitting in there, and I'm like, hey, I gotta go to my room real quick. So I walked back there, and as a writer, like a big part of co-writing is so you don't have to bang your head against a wall for 3 hours trying to come up with one line. Right. It's like when you have more people,
sure,
you get inspired and you inspire each other. Well, this song kind of happened like no other song I've ever written. And I'm not saying that just because I'm putting it out. Like it was really weird. So I went back there, like 20 minutes passed. I'm like, hey, Dad, come here real quick. I gotta tell you something. And so he comes back. I'm like, I play the first verse and chorus of I Love You, Mom. He's like, shit, dude. He's like, that's amazing. I was like, you think she'll like it? And he was like, yeah, I think she'll like it.
Yes.
And so the next like 10, 15 minutes, I wrote the second verse and I went in there and played it. It took me 3 times to play it. The first time I tried to play it, she's looking at me starting to just cry her eyes out, and I start tearing up. And then I'm like, dang it, and I stop. I'm like, if you're going to hear it, you got to hear it. I tried it a second time, same thing happened. And then the third time I played it through and she loved it, and then Dad was pissed naturally because I was the one that was late, right. And then I won the prize, I got the best gift,
That is such a good story, and it's so true because I think that I forgot my mother's birthday one time in my life, and I will tell you right now, I will never ever forget that.
No,
ever again.
Absolutely.
And that really is the best gift. I mean, I'm a mom too, and it's like if one of my kids did something like that, yeah, you would win the prize on that one for sure.
I appreciate that.
So I'm excited for your new song.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. I want to know a little bit about writing with Jimmy Allen. I love Jimmy Allen. I think he's amazing.
Oh, he's great.
So, I mean, how did that all come about? And yeah.
Well, so it was so long ago, but from what I remember, I was like, at this time, I was with Warner. Warner was setting me up sessions, and I think I was like 16 or so.
Okay.
And we were riding with him and this other guy, and I get there. I think it was centered around Jimmy prior to us like setting up the write. Like we were coming in to write for Jimmy.
Nice.
And so at that time, like we just hung out for like 4 hours. We ate Jimmy John's and made some music, and it was funny because I don't know if he was signed at the time. And so I would still listen to the audio recording though, like, you know, afterwards thinking this is pretty sick, you know, this is cool. Like this guy's got a great voice.
Yes.
And then he came out with the When You Smile, See Sunset. When he came out with that, I was like, wait. I looked at my contacts, I was like, I know that guy.
I know that guy.
I know that guy. That's crazy. You know, it's crazy, you know, because Nashville is like such a tight-knit community. And there's so many talented people here, you know, it's like, I was blessed enough to be at Warner and meet a lot of them. So, like, there's been times like I'll be listening to a Morgan Wallen song, and I'll look at the writers and be like, wait, I used to write with that guy.
Right.
You know,
it's like everybody's connected.
It's like really weird stuff. You know, it's like I'm like a diehard fan of some of Morgan Wallen songs, and then when I look at the credits, because I'm all about that, you know, seeing who wrote it. When I look at the credits, I'm like, no way.
That's so cool.
You know, just because, and at the same time, like, great experience, but sometimes I wish that, you know, I had the mindset I have now at 15, so I could have really understood, because I didn't understand, like, what it meant to be signed to Warner. Obviously, you know, a lot of great things came of it, and I'm eternally grateful to Scott and Ben. Like, they're amazing people. But I feel like I wish I would have been a little bit more, like, cognitive.
Well, you know what? I think you did. You're doing great. You're doing great here. Seriously.
Trying to.
Now, I'm going to ask you one little question before we're going to have you actually play a song. So y'all don't want to go anywhere.
Absolutely.
And of course, we're going to play my famous game also. So we've got that coming up too. So I want to know, like, what is your feeling about the power of country music? What would you have to say about the power of country music?
Well, I'll tell you this. My girlfriend is from New Jersey, and, you know, I love cities. I love big cities, but I feel like in cities, you know, it's like very work-centric. You know, it's like things move so fast, you know, it's like it's hard to really slow down and enjoy things. And, you know, not to bash any other place, one thing about, you know, the South, Tennessee, Mississippi specifically, Alabama, you know, all those places, Georgia, is, you know, you look at certain cultures, you know, from other places. Well, I think that a big part of American culture, even as a whole, is Southern culture, because it's very, you know, it's very like established. You know, it's like hunting, fishing, you know, like manners, being respectful, you know, things like that. Yes, sir. And also, I feel like too, as a musician, you know, the way I was raised as well, you know, it's like I was raised in South Mississippi in Nashville, so like this is what I know. Yeah. But another thing as a musician too, you know, I find that rock music, like what Journey would have been in the 80s, you know, what the Eagles were, you know, Foreigner, whatever it is, there's really not a market on the radio for that anymore. And what it is, where you hear those sounds and those that instrumentation and whatnot is on country radio. Yep. You see Jason Aldean's band, you know, badass rock guys. Right. Or you see Hardy getting on stage and you think you're at a rock concert, or Keith Urban, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So I think that country is like I feel like it's really good at blending other things too. You know what I mean? Yeah. That, and I just like the concepts, you know, like one thing, like I love pop music, I love everything, but if I like want to sit down and like get inspired, or like if I'm sad, you know, I want to wallow in my sadness a little bit. Yeah. You know, country music is, the lyricism is just so profound. You know, it's like if you want to talk about something, you write country music. Absolutely. In my mind. Yeah. Now I respect, you know, a lot of other artists that don't do country music, but for me, that's what it is.
I love that answer. Well, are you ready to play a song for us?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, when we come back, Jackson Nance is going to play a song for us.
Yes, ma'am. What's up, you guys? I'm Jackson Nance, and I'm playing my new single called I Love You, Mom. Out now. Go listen to it. The very first girl to hold my hand, you've always been there for me. When I'm not faithful to myself, you make sure to remind me there's a bigger plan in works, and you've always got my back. There's a lot that I don't say, I don't always take the time to tell you how amazed I am, and so lucky that you're mine. But let me start by saying this: I hope it comes out right. You help me stand when I start to fall. Always been here through it all. When time gets tough, you won't let me quit. Reassure when I'm needing it. Don't think for a single second I forgot that you're the best gift that I've ever got from God. I love you, Mom. I hope that one day I become the man you know I can be, and show my kids the kind of love that you've always given me. To shelter and provide and always give the best advice. Maybe I could be to them what you've been in my life. 'Cause you help me stand when I start to fall. Always been here through it all. When time gets tough, you won't let me quit. Reassure when I'm needing it. Don't think for a single second I forgot that you're the best gift that I've ever got from God. I love you, Mom. You help me stand when I start to fall. Always been here through it all. When time gets tough, you won't let me quit. Reassure when I'm needing it. Don't think for a single second I forgot that you're the best gift that I've ever got from God. I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom.
All right, Jackson Nance, his new song, I Love You, Mom. That was awesome.
Thank you.
And I love the story behind it. It is fantastic. Now, noticed you're a left-handed guitar player.
Yeah, proudly but inconveniently. Yeah, I am.
But you can also play a right-handed guitar.
Yeah,
Upside down?
I can, but I can't do it to the same degree.
Okay.
But it's a party trick, it's fun.
Oh yeah, oh totally.
Or like I've recorded solos in the studio, upside down, things like that. But if I can, I want to play left-handed guitar.
Okay, all right, yeah. Fair enough. You heard it here first. Okay, are you ready to play a little game?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I just want you to know, though, that I'm pretty competitive. So
okay.
If I don't win, I'm going to be pretty pissed.
Okay, well, you know what? The beauty of this game is everybody wins.
Okay, that's
So
good.
instead of truth or dare, we play truth or truth.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So I've got some little questions in here. You get to pick your own questions.
Okay.
You can read it out loud and then answer the question for us.
Let's see. Here we go. What's the worst thing you've ever done at work? Well, I've never had a real job. I've only ever done music, so.
That is beautiful.
I'll tell you something funny.
Okay.
This is funny. Bev knows this story. So I was playing when I was a kid, so don't attack me. When I was a kid, don't judge me. So I was like probably 13. I was playing at Centennial Park or Bicentennial Park or whatever it is. And I was there. It was this event, to raise awareness for child trafficking and putting a stop to that.
Right.
And so I'm like 13 or so, and I get up on stage, never breaking my smile and my character. Like, I'm excited to be there. I'm like, guys, I'm so excited to be here to support child trafficking. And everybody started laughing,
like,
and I'm like, oh, they're just in a good mood today, because I didn't realize what I said.
Right.
Because I'm a kid, I was a kid, and then my mom, I see
she's
her
like...
neck is like super red. She's like, oh my God, But yeah.
Okay, that is a good story. I like that story.
It's kind of at work,
It's words.
I guess it's worse because it was in front of like 400 people.
Right, exactly. Well, we'll forgive you. We know what you meant. We know what you meant, right?
Oh yeah. Here you go.
All right, thank you. I'll trade you. We're gonna do one more. Maybe a couple more.
I'm down to do as many as you want. I like this stuff. Let me see. We play Heads Up at my house all the
Oh,
time.
nice.
Oh, yeah.
There
all
you
the
go.
time. What's the most embarrassing thing you have ever done?
Oh, read it out loud. Hold on.
What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done? Oh,
Was it?
shoot.
What, did we just talk about it?
If I knew that this would be the second question, you know, let me think. It wasn't something I did, but so I was at the movie theater in Oxford, Mississippi with my brother. He's 6 years older than me.
Okay.
And you know what pantsing somebody is?
Yes.
Like, you know, like when you're a kid, you're a guy, you do that. I mean, probably would still do that to some of my friends. But so, underwear and all, I believe it was. For a split second, we're walking into a movie theater. It's like a weekend, you know. There's like young girls everywhere, like my age, you know. I'm like probably 10 at this time, so I'm like weird around girls, you know.
Right.
And he walks up behind me and jerks my pants down. And I pulled him right back up. I started crying, you know, and my grandfather got on him about it. But dude, I was so mad.
Aww.
It was terrible.
Aww.
It was awful. But yeah, so that's definitely up there.
You gotta love brothers, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, I have a sister, so I don't know anything about any of that.
No, absolutely not.
I'll leave it to the boys. It's boys. That's a boy
Oh
thing.
yeah, we used to wrestle, like play wrestle, and I'd accidentally hurt him, you know, like act like I, you know, didn't realize how hard I could hit or whatever. And then he'd get pissed, and then, you know, Dad would get mad. He'd be like, "Yo, stop that," you know.
Are you guys close now as you're adults?
Oh yeah, really
good,
close.
good.
He's definitely my best friend.
That's awesome. See, well, it all worked out,
For
right?
sure. Oh yeah.
But the pantsing story. Oh.
Dude, I know. It was terrible. Let's see. Okay. Do I have a favorite friend? I'm gonna piss some people off with this answer.
Okay, maybe you can do like a top 5 or something.
I'll
like
say
that. I do
this.
the top 5 or whatever.
So, like I said, my brother's really close to me, but he's my brother, so we'll talk about friends.
Okay.
So I've got 2, I think 2 or 3. I got 2 or 3. So my buddy Jack. So when I moved to Nashville in 2008, I moved to Gallatin.
Okay.
And I was 8 years old. My next door neighbor was this kid named Jack. And it was funny because for a brief period, so I lived here, he lived here, another kid lived here, and these 2 guys' names were Jack. So it was Jack, and Jackson. So it was like really crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But other Jack kind of phased out. But Jack Carrier we've been friends for 15 years.
That's awesome.
And, you know, it's like, I'm super proud of him. He's a great guy, and, you know, he's always supported me. And now the other guy, so at Puckett's when I was 13, I started doing a birthday bash, like where I would, you know, like play a bunch of music, and it was like, I was entertaining my own birthday party, I guess, which is kind of weird. But I met this kid named Hunter Pelham at that party, and we hit it off. Like, he's the type of dude, like, I'll send him a song that I wrote 30 minutes ago. By the time I see him, we're playing in the car, he's singing the chorus, you know? He's always supported me. He's always been really cool with that. And then I'd have to say, my buddy Jaden Delmore, he's actually at SCAD in Atlanta right now doing fashion school.
Awesome.
And what's probably going to happen is, you know, if I can ever get this thing off the ground, he's going to come and work with me.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So it's always fun to work with your friends. I mean,
Oh,
like you
absolutely.
said, you're not really, it doesn't really feel like work, right? You're like, I don't really have a job.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I got really lucky, too, because music just kind of, it kind of like reached up and bit me. You know, I didn't like sit down and have a hard thinking process. I mean, I was 12. I didn't have a hard thinking process,
Right.
you know. It was just kind of like, oh, I like doing this, and people seem to like it when I do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do it.
That's like everybody's dream. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, do what you love, you never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah, I'm beyond blessed with that, for sure.
That is awesome. Well, I am so glad that you were here with me today, Jackson Nance. Go download his song, I Love You, Mom, on all the platforms.
Yes, ma'am.
Make sure you follow him on social media, and you can follow me too if you want.
I'm going to follow you. So,
Okay, good.
So
All right,
I got
good.
you. I got
I
you.
got a new follower. Good. Thanks for watching Up in Country. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave us a comment. We do new episodes every Tuesday, and be sure to follow Up in Country on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And you can follow me too at Sue Bonzell on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.